Today is a very special day in the 49th Ward. It is our second historic participatory budgeting moment that, due to and thanks to the work and research and democratic nature of our Alderman, Joe Moore, we initiated a process last week last year that allowed for the residents of the 49th Ward, and this is all residents, taking part in an election, a vote, to decide where something called menu money, or the Alderman's $1 million fund that he gets normally in every other ward, all the aldermen just decide where it's spent, how it's spent. Traditionally, things like street repair, other pet projects of various aldermanic offices would get handled. Last year was a brilliant effort, a lot of volunteer work on the part of the community to put together the possibilities, the projects to vote on. This year, again, same thing, and we're so happy to welcome you. I know it's a busy day for you. Joe Moore, Alderman Joe Moore, welcome back.
Good to be back. Hi, Katie.
Right on.
And
Hi, Katie. Hi, Michael.
Good to have you, Joe.
And we've got a visitor from New York, a fellow who is pretty schooled in the participatory budgeting process. Why don't you introduce us?
He's a person that really provided me with the inspiration to do this and and the courage to do this. Josh Lerner from the Participatory Budgeting Project. Josh is someone who has studied participatory budgeting throughout the world. Even though it's not common in the United States, it is become very much an accepted practice in over 1,000 cities across the world. And Josh was very instrumental in helping us realize what worked and what didn't work, and help us, meaning not only my office, but the community as a whole, because this is really a community-driven process, design the process, and why it's the reason why it's been so successsul.
Hi, Josh. Welcome to the Heartland.
Thank you. Very glad to be here.
And you observed the process last year, then, I assume, or you were.
You certainly heard about it.
You were here for the vote last year.
Oh yeah. I mean, I was involved in the beginning in getting community members on board, designing the process, figuring out how it would work, and then came back for each step.
What do you like most about the People's Republic of Rogers Park?
It's funny, when I came here, everyone warned me that this was a very divisive community. People were going at each other like cats and dogs. They'd fight it out through this whole process. And I was really impressed how folks came together and really worked together and came up with projects that would benefit everyone in the ward.
Terrific. Yeah, exactly. That's the way I felt, too. It was refreshing. We have had some knockdown battles, both politically and project-related in this community, but the participatory budgeting process was one that made all that go away. Folks were able to work together and research together. I was so impressed with my fellow community members and their work on putting together these projects. There's something really different this time on the vote, Joe, and that's the percentage question. Can you explain that?
Sure. Well, the basic principle, and we should probably tell everyone the vote is taking place right now.
Right. Thanks.
At the Chicago Math and Science Academy, which is located at 7214 North Clark Street, and just right across from Toohey Park. And it's going on right now until 3 o'clock. There are 21 project proposals on the ballot this year, and every voter can vote for up to 6 projects. But as you indicated, there's also a separate ballot question. And that ballot question asks the voters to vote on the percentage of this year's $1 million budget that should be devoted to street resurfacing. And the voters are given a choice everywhere from between 0 to 100% in increments of 10, 0, 10, 20, 30. And you cast your vote for what percentage of the total budget you think should be devoted to resurfacing our streets. We list all the streets that would be resurfaced in priority order. And then what we'll do is we'll tally up all the votes, we'll average it out, and whatever the average is, it'll be devoted to street resurfacing. The reason this was done was last year we just had the separate streets listed in clumps of 2 or 3 blocks per ballot question. And not a big surprise there. People vote their interests, and if they don't live on the block or drive down the block, they're less likely to vote for that block to be resurfaced.
Right.
But there is a general consensus in the community that the streets have really taken a hit from the bad winters we've had recently, and we need to address that. And so this is a way of addressing it while still keeping the spirit of participatory budgeting and letting the people decide alive.
That was a big effect of last year. People were so drawn to the creative choices on the ballot. They sort of lost the interest in the dull old street resurfacing. So I'm encouraging our listeners to go online and look at the sample ballot and notice that if their street is on, they may well find it within their own personal interest to show up at the Math and Science Academy today and take part.
Well, they should show up regardless, because not only is this a way of helping me decide, or actually deciding themselves how to spend this $1 million of their taxpayer money, but the principle of democratic governance and small d democratic governance is real important.
Amen.
So even if you really don't have a strong opinion about how this money should be spent, you should go and support the process.
I couldn't
and show
agree
up
more.
and vote to support the process, because this is something that is so unique for the city of Chicago, a city where decisions in the past have made totally from the top down with very little public input and certainly no public decision-making authority. We're doing it differently here in the 49th Ward, and people should support the process even if they don't care how many streets are resurfaced.
Yeah, Josh, go ahead.
Yeah, if I could just add, and you're also being a role model for the country by coming out and voting. People may not be aware of this, but a lot of cities around the U.S. have been looking at the 49th Ward, seeing what's happening here, and trying to replicate the process locally. So I just came back from Greensboro, North Carolina, where they're hoping to launch a new PB process. In New York, 4 council members are launching a process similar to here in the fall, so we're working with them now. We've also been in Providence, San Francisco, several other cities that are now saying, look, in the 49th Ward, this worked. Why can't we do this with our money? Why can't we let our residents decide how their taxpayer dollars?
Well, we are a blue ward in a blue city by the blue waters of the Great Lake, Michigan.
But it's interesting, actually. This is not just a partisan issue. So in New York, one of the council members is Republican who's participating in this.
That's
and for
good
him,
to hear.
He also wants to let the people decide. So it bridges that partisan divide. Everyone wants the people to be able to decide how their money is spent.
Josh, what got you going on this? Where did you first hear about it, and what inspired you to really take up the banner?
I first heard about it when I was in Toronto around 8 or 9 years ago, and the city at the time was considering doing this for their budget, and I was getting a master's degree. They asked me to do research on how it worked and how it could work for the city. And I started learning about different models, and the more I learned about it, the more intrigued I got. And so that drew me to Latin America. I was there for around a year doing research.
Was it Recife or no, where in Brazil?
Porto Alegre is the most famous
Porto
city to
Alegre,
have done
right.
it, but it's now happening all over Brazil, Latin America, Europe, elsewhere.
Oh, that's terrific. People should understand, too, that all 49th Ward residents age 16 and over are eligible to vote. You do not have to be a card-carrying citizen. All you need to be is a 49th Ward resident, 16 years or older. So it's a great practice day for the young folks to get out there
I'm
and
going to
see.
go wake up one of my kids. who's
There
at
you
home.
go. You must
Get 'em
do
over
that. We've got until 3 o'clock this afternoon. What are you hoping?
So even the late sleepers can vote today.
Exactly.
Because we want everyone to be involved.
Exactly.
Even people who are not morning people.
Even those who are not awake for this show. That's right. Joe, what do you hope is the new thing that happens today? I'm sure you want an increase in voters, but what are you hoping for as a developmental step in our second year of doing this?
Well, we're certainly hoping to expand participation, both in terms of numbers, but also in terms of making sure that those who participate reflect the diversity of our community.
Yeah.
One of the ways that this has been really intriguing to me is it's given, in many cities, people who are what we would call disempowered. In other words, people of low-income groups, people of color who traditionally have been kind of left out of the decision-making process. It's giving them real power. And while, in the years that I've been alderman, I've tried very hard to be very fair to all parts of the community, still the principle of making sure everyone participates people of low and moderate income, as well as people with some money, and people from all walks of life. It's incredibly important to me, and I think incredibly important to demonstrate to cities across this nation that this is something that is a very healthy thing to do, and really an antidote to people's understandable cynicism and anger at government today, and the fact that they don't feel they're being listened to or paid attention to.
So if people wanted to take a look at the sample ballot, where should they go right now?
Well, if they want to look at it before they get dressed this morning,
That's right. To think about the choices.
go to ward49.com. That's my website, and it's on the home page of the website. You just click on the attachment, and you can download a sample ballot and look at it right there. And we also have a blog that has it. If you go to the participatory budgeting page of my website, you can get all sorts of resources that help you make a decision on how to vote today.
We should spend a lot more time on this at another time, because I'd like to know about the progress on the things that were chosen last year and that sort of thing. But for folks listening, in addition to the Streets Committee, there are committees that break down public safety, traffic and safety, art and other projects committee, all these various parks and environments committee that divvy up the.
Right.
Go
Can
ahead.
I think it's real important. This is totally community driven.
Right.
My office provided support and assistance and staffing and some
space.
funds, but in terms of how the process was designed and what measures are on the ballot, totally determined by the neighborhood residents in this ward.
I want to thank you, Joe, for coming on and bringing along Josh Lerner, one of the guys who's really made this happen around the country and maybe around the world. We'll see you a little bit later over at the Chicago Math and Science Academy,
When
just
we go to
north of
Toohey.
Toohey on Clark Street.
Yeah.
And
When
we'll
we
be
go to
talking more
cast our
about the
ballot.
Chicago Math and Science Academy at a later show.